Okay, so you've registered with iSpot. How do you go about adding your first wildlife observation to the site? As soon as you log into iSpot, you should see a button that says Add an Observation. Click on that, and you're now taken to the screen that allows you to put all the details on that go with your wildlife sighting. If you have a photo to go with your sighting, the first thing to do is to find the photo, click on Choose File, and navigate your way through to where you've saved your photo. Once you've got the correct photo showing here, click on Attach the photo. It'll take a few moments for this to upload, depending on how large the file is. The limit on size of photos on iSpot is very large, so usually a photo will just upload without you having to do any further editing to it. If you have more than one photo to go with your observation, you can now select second, third or fourth, or however many photos you need. But remember that iSpot works best if you have just one species per observation. You'll see that when your photo is uploaded, iSpot will try and use as much information as possible from the photo. So for instance, it gives a title based on the name of the photo file you've just uploaded, and it will pick up the date, and sometimes it will pick up the location if you're using a camera that has location information within it. However, you may well want to change this title, particularly if you've just got a code number attached to your photo. It's best to make the title a bit more meaningful. So we'll call this one Butterfly in Woodland, just to make it clear what type of thing it is. The details that you have to fill in are shown by an asterisk here, and as you'll see, there's quite a lot of extra ones that you can fill in if you wish, but you don't actually have to. If you ever get stuck on what is supposed to go in any of these boxes, wherever you see this question mark symbol, if you click on that, you'll get a little bit of text to help you see exactly what's expected in each box. If you don't want to have the date that the photo has suggested, you just click on the date field and a calendar opens up and you can choose the date from there, or alternatively you can just type in a different date, whichever is the quickest way for you to do that. The list of habitats here is a standard list. It doesn't cover every type of habitat you might want to use, so if the one you want isn't in the list, it's best just to add it as one of the descriptive tags. And the descriptive tags can be a sort of keyword for anything that you think would fit with this particular observation. So for instance, in this case, we might want to tag it as being a butterfly. Now, as soon as you start typing a tag in, iSpot will come up with the list of all the similar tags that people have used before. So if you're using a tag that other people have used, it should show up in this list. It's usually worth putting something in the description box. You can just type any text into here, and the sort of thing that's helpful is to tell people a bit more information about the type of place where you saw whatever the wildlife is that you're trying to identify, and sometimes it's useful to say what size it was or what behaviour it was showing at the time you saw it, anything that might help identify the species for you. The next part of the form is where you can fill in what species you think you've seen. If you don't know what species you've seen, then you can leave most of this blank. The one thing you do need to say is what type of wildlife it is. So if you haven't filled anything else in, you just need to select the best choice off the list. If you really don't know which group it fits into at all, then you can go for the Other Organisms option, and hopefully somebody on the site will tell you which group it actually belongs to. But if you can fit it into one of these main groups of animals and plants, that's the best thing to do, because then more people will actually see your observation and stand a better chance of identifying it for you. If you do know or think you know what the species is, then you can fill in either a scientific name or an English name. For this butterfly, I think it's something called the speckled wood, and if I start typing in the word speckled, you'll see that a list appears with all the types of wildlife that have the word speckle in their name. So I can pick it off the list now, speckled wood. At this point, I can use the Get Recommended button. What this does is to match the name that you've typed in or picked off the list against the species dictionary in iSpot, and if it can, it will fill in the other name. So if you've typed in an English name, it will try and fill in a scientific name for you. And alternatively, if you've typed in a scientific name, it will fill in an English name for you where one exists. So we'll click on that button, Now in this case it's telling me that there are several names to choose from that match the name I've typed in, and I'm going to go for the simplest option, that one. It's very useful to have a scientific name in if you can, because it just helps link your observation to all the other observations on iSpot. But don't worry if you can't fill in the scientific name, or if the Get Recommended button doesn't come up with any suggestions. That's one of the things that other people on the site will be able to sort out for you. If you do click on Get Recommended and it finds a match for your name, it will also automatically fill in the correct group setting from here, rather than you having to choose it off the list. The other thing that you need to fill in if you have made an identification is to say whether you're absolutely certain of it or whether there's some doubt over it and you're just putting it forward as a suggestion. So choose whichever option you think is most appropriate. You can also add some notes specifically about how you've identified it. One of the things we're really keen on iSpot is showing people why a species is one thing rather than another, so that we can all learn from that and get used to the different identification tips. So if you can fill something in about why you think it's this particular species, that's really helpful. Now we need to say where it is we saw our particular wildlife observation. And if this is the first time you've used iSpot, then the best thing to do is to click on the Use Map button. This will open up another window that shows you a map of Great Britain and Ireland. You may also see, depending on how your web browser is set up, a message at the top saying that iSpot is trying to track your location. This is nothing to be alarmed about, it's just something that a lot of web browsers do nowadays. They will try and work out whereabouts in the world your computer is based and use that to zoom the map into somewhere appropriate. You don't have to use that, you can tell it not to do that and just go back to the map. To find the place that you actually need for your location, you can either just zoom in the map and move it around, or you can type in a place name or a postcode or an Ordnance Survey grid reference and the map will zoom into that. This particular observation was at a place near Watlington, so I'm going to zoom in there, and I then need to move my map over to find the exact place that I'm looking for. And then I can then zoom in and make it as precise as I wish. When you've got to the area that you need, you can just click on the map, it'll put a little symbol there, and you then click on the button that says Done. You'll now see that iSpot has filled in a title and a latitude and longitude for your location. The latitude and longitude should be left as they are, but if you don't like the title that iSpot has come up with, you can call it something different. If you wish, you can add some notes about the location, but that's not essential. You can leave that blank if you want to. One more choice you have here is that you can hide the precise location so that when the location is displayed on iSpot, it doesn't take you right down to the pinpoint on the map. What it actually does is to put a 1 kilometre square around where you saw your observation. It's best not to tick that unless you really need to, because for most purposes it's always good to show people exactly where the record was made, and if your record gets passed on to one of the national recording schemes who sometimes use iSpot information, then it's great for them to have the full details. However, if you are concerned about the location and wish not to make it as precise as that, you can just tick this box. So that was showing how to create a location for the first time, making use of the Use Map button. Once you've created a location though, if you have any further observations from the same location, all you need to do is to start typing in the name that you used previously, and you should find your location in the list that appears, and then you can just click on it and use it from there. There's an upload agreement that, if you click on More Details, will show you the terms and conditions that iSpot uses, so do have a read of that somewhere along the way. So having done all that, you're now in a position to save your observation, or if you prefer, you can preview it before doing the final save. We'll click on Preview. You'll notice that the photo doesn't show straight away in the preview version, but the text should all be there, and you can check that all the details are what you want. If you do need to change anything at this point, just scroll further down the screen and it will take you back to all the information you filled in, and you can edit that and change it at this stage. Once you're happy with it, click on Save. and your observation is now live on iSpot. And if you haven't given your species a name, then hopefully somebody else will name it. If you have given it a name, then hopefully people will agree with it. But either way, you should get an answer and some feedback about your observation. So here is our observation. It's now up on iSpot, and if we go straight back to the iSpot home page, it's likely to appear among the latest observations.